Hello friends and welcome to another tutorial. I am Katya with Lunar Sun Creations and today we are going to be making an explosion box album. For those of you who have not seen the walkthrough of this project yet, I will link that down below so you can go check that out and then come back and then you'll have a better idea of what we're about to create. Full disclaimer, I literally just got out of bed, and so I can't guarantee that my brain and my mouth and my hands are all going to work together right now. My body is fighting being awake and wants to go back to bed, but it's being overruled by all other parts who say that I must get this done for you. So that's what we're doing. Body overruled. Okay, all right. I'm gonna start by going over the fairly minimal supplies that you will need, and then we'll get going. Okie doke. So, first you will need a paper trimmer. You will need some adhesive. I am going to be using both wet adhesive and double-sided tape in conjunction with each other, so I'll be using both of those. You will need some magnets. I didn't count how many we would need. Not that many though. My guess is probably maybe 20 or so. Okay, I use 1mm by 10mm disc magnets. I do have them available in my Etsy shop. You will need some scissors. Optional is some distress ink and an ink dauber to ink the edges of your papers. You don't have to do that, but I just find it finishes it nicely. A ruler and your scoreboard, and then we'll need some 8.5 by 11 cardstock. You could also use 12 by 12, but just a black cardstock. Mine is an 80-pound weight. I don't know what that is in GSM, but it's a fairly decent weight paper. Listen for that sound. I think I used about 25-30 sheets, 25 to 30. Tyvek. You will need a big Tyvek envelope. If you don't have Tyvek, can't find it, you can do this whole project with cardstock, although Tyvek makes everything move so much better and it is so much stronger. You will never have an issue with this ripping and falling apart if you use Tyvek. So I do highly recommend it. This stuff is amazing. I use it in pretty much every project that I do, so it's a highly valuable thing to have in the craft room. And then lastly, we will need some chipboard. We'll be using quite a few pieces of chipboard. I would suggest a medium weight, at least 3mm thick, because you want this to be really sturdy. Okay, I'm gonna clean this all up and then we'll start getting our pieces ready for the box part of our explosion box. Okay, so the pieces that you will need for the bottom part of the box, the part that explodes out, your bottom piece of chipboard will be 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And then your sides, you will need 4 sides, and they will be 5.5 inches by 7 inches. Okay, and if you're wondering why some of them are brown, it's just because I used a couple pieces of the chipboard for ink blending. I just didn't want to throw them out, so I wanted to use them. So because these are going to be all covered up, it didn't matter. Okay, so those are our chipboard pieces for the bottom, and then cardstock. You'll need 8 strips of cardstock, 8 of them that are 2 1/8 inches by 7 inches. So those are going to go along all 4 of the sides. Okay, so 8 of those. You will also need 8 pieces that measure 2 1/8 by 5.5. Okay, and then you will need 8 pieces of Tyvek that are 2 inches by 5.5. That's what's going to hold the whole thing together. Okay, and again, if you don't have the Tyvek, you can cut these out of cardstock, and it will work. It's not quite as smoothly. Okay, so we need to score all of our strips here. So grab your scoreboard. Okay, and all of these strips are going to get scored at 1 inch and 1 1/8 inch along the long side, so the 5.5 inch side and the 7-inch side. So all of these, all 16 pieces are going to be scored at 1 and 1 1/8. Okay. Okay, so this is the last one, and then you're going to fold and crease all of those using your bone folder. But first I'm going to do all of the 2 1/8 by 7-inch ones so they get the same score marks. So 1 and 1 1/8. So these are going to wrap kind of around the rough edge of the chipboard. So that's why I'm creating this little gusset so that they just fit over the edge of the chipboard, all nice and snug. Okay, so now grab your bone folder, and we'll just fold these. You want to fold away from the indent that you've created. Okay, and just crease both of those lines so that you end up with little pieces that have this bit of a thing in between. Does that, can you see that? So it's just that little tiny gusset. Hello, Zerzer. Good morning, buddy. Zeri never misses an opportunity to be on camera or an opportunity to try and drink coffee. No. He's the first cat that I've ever had that, I don't know if it's the sugar in the coffee or what it is he's trying to get at, or if he just loves the caffeine. But I'm constantly trying to get him away from it. Right, Buzz? Okay, so I am going to fold and crease all of these score lines. I'm going to do it off camera because you don't need to see me do all 16 of them. You've got this, and I will be right back and we'll start putting our box together. Alright, so once you have all of your strips folded and creased, you can start putting things together. You are very much in the way, love. Okay, so we're going to take the bottom piece here, and we're going to take 4 of our... So typical. So typical. Well, at least say hi if you're going to be here. Hey, say hi. Say hi. Look up. Look up. Look up to all the wonderful people. Hey, way up here. There you are. Say hello. Okay. Enough of that. Okay, so take your strips of Tyvek. If you have not already, you can put some double-sided tape on there. I'm going to use both double-sided tape and the wet adhesive. So I'm removing 1/2 of the double-sided tape, and then I'm putting some wet adhesive as well, right there. Okay, and then I'm going to put it just so it covers about half of the Tyvek, so about to the halfway point like that. Okay, the reason I use both wet and the dry adhesive, so the dry adhesive will make it so that it I can continue moving forward. If I just use wet adhesive, it stays wet for so long that things move around and shift, that I feel like I can't, like everything can move around. So I like the fact, but it's a much stronger adhesive, so it will stand the test of time. Whereas the adhesion on the double-sided tape does eventually kind of break down. And I find that after a few years, some pieces start to like come apart a little bit because the adhesion is going. So we're literally just going to go around the box like this, doing just that. So yeah, so I just like to use them in conjunction. If you prefer, you could just use one and or the other. It is completely your choice. Okay, so far it looks like this, the bottom of the box with the Tyvek bits all around. Now we are going to add our sides. So I'm going to remove the rest of the tape and put some more glue down and then add the sides down. Now the most important thing is that you need to leave some space. So, I mean, you can kind of stand it up and then lay it down, and that will show you how much space you need. I tend to just give it a little bit extra, and that way you know that you're good. Because you want to make sure if you butt it right up against it as it's laying down, then it won't have room to stand up. So you want to make sure that you leave at least 1/8 of an inch, like at least the width of your chipboard, but I like to give it even a little bit more than that. So mine's somewhere between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so it looks like that right now. So these are all going to come up like this, and then the lid will sit on top of that, and all the page designs will be on these big parts here. Okay, so now we need to cover these seams, all right? So again, we're just going to do that with the Tyvek, just like that. We're going to cover these 4 seams. And you can put the Tyvek on the chipboard, or sorry, the adhesive on the chipboard or on the Tyvek itself. Totally your call. Okay, and do that to all 4 sides. And don't worry about the rough edges here, because we're going to be covering those up with the strips of cardstock. We'll be finishing off those edges. Hey, Tundra. You never get to see my other kitty. It's always Zuri that jumps up here. Tundra does come to visit in the studio, but he is very camera shy. As soon as you point a phone or a camera at him, he is out. He just doesn't like it at all for some reason. Okay, so there is that. I like to put a little ruler in here and just kind of bend everything up and make sure you've got a good crease in between each of these. All right, and now we will work with our cardstock. I'm gonna do the sides first. So I suggest doing a tiny little miter of them, like not a lot. Like, so this is folded over, and I would just trim a little bit at an angle off the ends, like just a little bit though. And this just creates a cleaner edge. I'm just gonna quickly do that to all of my pieces. Should have done that earlier. So just a little bit. Okay, here we go. So all of those are mitered. I'm gonna get rid of all of my little bitties here. All right, now on the inside of all of these strips, you're gonna want adhesive. So again, I'm going to use both wet and dry adhesive. You don't have to, you could just use the dry adhesive, or just use wet adhesive if you like, but I am going to put some score tape on the inside of each one of these, and then I'll start adding them to my project. So feel free to do you and add the score tape if you like or not like. I just want to show you, I don't know if you can, oh, is the camera going to pick it up? I don't know if you can see them. I just had my nails done, and they're super cute little cats. Can you see them? They're just fantastic, and I just love them. just wanted to pause to appreciate the nail art. Okay, so I'm gonna do the rest of this off screen, and I will come back to you as soon as I've got some score tape on the inside of all of these. Be back in a moment. Okay, so I'm finally ready to start putting these on. Don't know why I had to sing that. it's too early for songs. Okay. So both some dry and some wet adhesive, and then I'm just going to put it onto one of the sides, and because it's got that little gusset, it should fit just perfectly. If I get it on straight, Katya, come on. No. So it should meet the end of the chipboard perfectly. Alright, and we're just going to do that for all of the long edges, just to cover that rough edge of the chipboard and make it a nice clean look. Okay, and now we'll do the same with the these bits. And I just realized that I'm a silly goose because we only need 4 of these, not 8. Katya. I have written down 4 and I still said 8 and still did 8. This is what happens when you craft before your brain is awake. Sorry folks if I messed anybody up on that. But at least it's just a tiny little bit of score tape, etc. Okay, last piece for the bottom of the box. Excellent, so now you've got a nice clean edge on everything. So now I'll set this aside and we will work on the lid of the box, okay? So for the lid, you are going to need 1 piece that measures 6 inches by 6 inches, 4 pieces that measure 1 3/4 inches by 6 inches. You'll need 4 pieces of cardstock that measure 2 1/8 by 6. And then you'll also need 4 pieces that are 1 1/2 inches by 1 7/8 inches. And 4 pieces that are 1 1/2 by 1 5/8. Okay, so just little baby pieces, and we are going to do the same thing that we did on the first ones, and we are going to score all of them at 1 inch and 1 1/8 inch. Okay, so 1 and 1 1/8. Okay, now these tiny, tiny little guys, so these ones are all just going to have 1 score line. They're just going to be scored at 3/4 on the 1 1/2 inch side. Okay, so these ones are going to just fold around the outside 4 corners of the lid. And then these smaller ones, the 1 1/2 by 1 5/8, again, we're going to score at 3/4 on the 1 1/2 inch side. And these ones are going to go on the inside little corners of the lid. Okay, great. So we're going to fold and crease all of those score lines. Okay, so once they're all folded, we're going to add our score tape to the inside of these long ones. And then to the inside of the 1 7/8 inch ones. And then the outside of the 1 5/8. Okay, so on the smallest ones, the 1 5/8, they're going to be going on the inside of the box. So we want the adhesive to be on the outside of the fold, because they're going to be going into the creases of each corner on the inside, right? So this is the box, my hand's like the corner of the box, so that's going to go in here. So we need those to go on the outside of the crease. And then we'll want to miter all of these just very slightly, just to make a cleaner fold. So just to show you just a little bit of an angle. Okay, so before we go any further, we're also going to need some Tyvek for the lid. Okay, so I have cut 4 pieces that are 2 inches by 6 inches, and I already have adhesive on the back of them. And then I've also got 2 pieces that are 2 inches by 12 inches. Okay, and they're gonna wrap around. This will make sense as we go. Do the thing where we add these 4 pieces, like we started with the bottom of the box. So start it the same way, and then things will switch up a bit. Okay, so far so good. We've got our Tyvek all the way around the edges. Okay, and then we will add our sides the same way, leaving a bit of a space. Might be too much of a space. We don't need as much of a space because these are, instead of folding up, these are going to be folding backwards. So they're going to be folding like this, as opposed to the other way, okay? So you don't need nearly as much of a space as you did before, just a smidge. Okay, so you've got it to this point. Now we're going to pick the whole thing up. And the 2 12-inch pieces are going to wrap around this. So okay, this can get a little bit fiddly. So bear with me here. We're going to put the Tyvek like halfway, like we've been doing, along one edge. Okay, just like that. Wrap it around one side, and then wrap it around the other side. Okay, so you've got something that looks like that. Okay. And now we're going to fold these 2 in like you're wrapping a present. And then fold this down. Just to like a present fold. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other edge. Okay, taking my long strip and then placing it halfway, wrapping these around. And my Tyvek isn't quite long enough. I'll have to do one little mend. So 13 inches would be better than 12 inches, apparently. That's alright. So 13 inches is better. We can still make it work, but... Okay, and then we're just going to fold it like a present like that. Okay, I'm just going to put a tiny piece of Tyvek right here just to cover that seam. Most of this is going to be covered up with pattern paper, so you won't see any of these seams. Like the only little tiny bit you're going to see is right here. So I'm not overly concerned. Okay, and there we go. Awesome. And now we're going to use all of our little bits. Make this lid really secure. So I'm going to take all my 1.5 by 1 5/8 inch little bits. Okay, and they're going to go in the inside corners of the box, just like that. Okay, so take all 4 of those and put them in all 4 corners. Sorry if you can hear noise. The upstairs neighbors appear to be moving a whole bunch of furniture around or something. I'm not quite sure what they are doing. We're going to be moving quite soon. The house that Ian and I live in was sold, and the people who bought it are going to be moving in, so we're getting the boot. We have found another rental, so we're going to be moving in a couple months, and my studio is going to be a little bit bigger. I'm very excited. It's a 2-bedroom little place, and I'm actually going to take the master bedroom, the larger bedroom, and use it as my studio, which I'm quite excited about, to have a little bit more space, because right now my studio is very, very tiny. So I'm excited to have a little bit more room. Alright, so I didn't realize that my camera had shut off for some reason, and I didn't even notice. So you missed me. I didn't get the footage of me putting on the 4 strips to cover the rough edges there, but that's all you have to do, just the same as we did on the bottom part. So just adding the paper that we'd scored onto the bottom, and there is your lid. So that is going to go on here. We're going to have our page designs on these 4 pieces, and then close this up. And I like to hold 2 or 3 of the sides and kind of go like this, and then kind of lift up a little bit to put that last one on. And right now it looks like the lid is a little big, but once we've got all of our elements on the inside, and once we have our patterned paper on both the outside of the box and the inside of the lid, it will fit just perfect, because you don't want it to be any snugger than this and not be able to get it on. Okay, so it will be a little bit more snug than it is now. Okay, so we're going to stop here for today. And in part 2, we will put all of our elements on the inside of our pages. Okay, so the part 2 will be out either tomorrow or the next day, depending on how fast I can edit it. So please hit that bell icon so you will be notified as soon as it is up, and for any videos that I post. And please consider hitting that subscribe button or the like button, any of the awesome buttons that help YouTube know that you are liking the content that I'm putting out there for you. Okay, alright, we will see you in a day or so for part 2. Love you all, stay safe, big hugs, bye!